Back in my very first video on this channel, I mentioned how endings could be a colossal pain in the ass. I stand by that. You've got to wrap up character arcs, conclude all your plot points to bring about a satisfactory experience, and also make sure your themes all line up and are executed properly. There is a lot of work required, and the more complex your script, the more work that's required to pull it off. George R.R. Martin is a living testament to that migraine. For Endwalker, its finale brought us to the edge of creation, Ultima Thule, where following the events at Elpis, Medeon and her sisters fled to build a nest of pure dynamis, where they could assault Atheris and the cosmos at large, bringing an end to suffering through unimaginable suffering, a finer metaphor for trudging through the storyline I cannot think of. And then 12,000 years later, we arrive to end their threat once and for all. How did it go? What were our experiences? Did Endwalker end satisfyingly? Did the title not give it away? Yeah, stay tuned, you'll see. Spoilers for Endwalker lie ahead. Any newbies currently working through the game, best go disappoint yourselves first. Then come back and we'll grumble about things, as mature adults do. Now to give a little credit where it's due, we went into the final zone of Endwalker with style. Using primals to fuel our expedition was a kick-ass subversion of what was the first threats we faced in the series, plus a sleek and slender as hell spaceship to make the journey. Well, it's more of a luxury yacht if we're honest. Very stylish for a vessel meant to evacuate an entire planet from the apocalypse. Not exactly the most practical design. Charlian engineers prioritize style over function apparently. And it's not like taking the one spaceship in the world would be a dilemma. A script this tightly written? Not physically possible. Nah, let's just stand around and hope for the best. 12,000 years preparing for Armageddon, and this is the best we've got. We haven't even left the planet yet, by the way. We're still in the atmosphere, and there's problems with what we're seeing. I'm sorry, I meant to say something positive, then pile drive into the negativity. But the writers made such intentions impossible.
So you have no good news for me today.
Aren't you glad I didn't say the nano?
So yes, we're off to save the universe, with the Loporits at the helm. I think I feel safer hitchhiking, to be honest. And the instant we arrive at our destination, things go south. Yep, the Medeon finds us, and they really don't like visitors. She starts using her emo powers to choke the life out of us. I admit, this was a horrifying scene, watching our main cast barely arrive before getting massacred. So touche on conveying the horror of the situation. It's only our boy Thancred who holds on long enough to lunge at them. Then, darkness. We awake in a tangible realm. Bizarre, unreal almost. Alright, no sarcasm this time, I must give props for how visually insane Ultima Thule is. Incinerated planets, the ashes of ruined civilizations scattered around. A long-dead sun looming above. A sci-fi apocalyptic setting to establish the mood. Desolation mired with hints of intrigue over what remnants there are of cultures long extinct. The lack of explanation left us to ponder who, what, and why every time we stumbled across a new environment. Hollywood could take notes on the atmosphere of this realm. I will also say I enjoyed how this place functioned. As we explored, we came across pale specters of dragons. I've been very clear how much I love the dragons of Eorzea, and seeing first-hand accounts of how their world fell to sentient machines. I'm sure all of us instantly flash back to the Omega raids, a decent foreshadowing of events to come. We learned that the entities left in this realm are actively harvested for dynamis to keep the realm and the Song of Oblivion going. It's a literal despair engine. That's insane. Then we encounter the Medeon again. She reveals the truth that Thancred is gone, erased in an instant. Yet with his final will, Thancred desired to see us live. That single want permeated after death. In this realm dictated by emotion, it was powerful enough to create a tangible world with an atmosphere, someplace we could survive and continue the fight. Hermes had said dynamis was quite esoteric. With this first-hand experience, I can see what he meant. So, I got a question. Why are you telling us this? To be clear, we were confused, with no notion of what to do or where to go. You could have just left us to wander aimlessly until something inevitably went wrong. Instead, Emo Deathbird number 2 divulged precisely what was required for us to advance throughout their domain. I'll say that again. She told us exactly what was needed to infiltrate their realm. Imagine assaulting an enemy castle and they both having secret passageways allowing them to maneuver freely. You just spoiled your advantage. And the Medeon did the same thing right here. Maybe it's because they've been indulging melancholia for 12,000 years, and the little bastards have a one-track mentality. Or it's to rub in the fact that one of our party is gone, to invoke greater despair in us, just like all the despondent souls trapped in this realm. Maybe they're just so steadfast in their nihilism that it doesn't register what they just did. nothing can detract from the fact that the emo Deathbird is straight up, no BS, dropping exactly what needs to happen to beat them. And she's completely nonchalant about it. I hate when characters act profoundly stupid just to advance the plot. This was a special level of dumb. Here on out, our main cast takes this very specific information and runs with it, forging our path towards the Medion's nest, all because a little bird girl never learned to shut her trap. And she's 12,000 years old.
You're old and I hate you!
Gotta give credit to Justinian, the man wasted no time going for the kill, while everybody else stood there. Animated by the very limited emotes available on this game engine. How hard could it have been? How hard was it to let the Scions wander the area, studying, learning, and adapting to the Dynamis, learning its functions, its rules, putting the pieces together themselves? They hail from a nation of nerds. That's their whole thing. And instead of letting them do their whole thing, you just had the enemy babble the secret cheat code like a cliché cartoon villain. In doing so, we've killed so much of the dynamic in this zone. There's no testing, no learning anything for ourselves through experience, a key factor in both role-playing games and real life. I understand time is of the essence here, but instead of making this a speedrun, they turned it into a slog. No major questions are asked outside of the backstory of each group we stumble across, turning Ultima Thule into an exposition landfill. For the remainder of the narrative up until the final dungeon, every zone, every quest accomplishes the same thing. Find a people, learn about them, find out what went wrong, nag them about it, magic emo stuff happens. Continue. And, oh yeah, our party members die, one after the other, like the final few episodes of Wolf's Reign. If you haven't seen that, it's super depressing. Took its time too, making you process the... You know what, let's move along. I'm not ready to talk about it. The same thing keeps on happening, like a loop. First the dragons, those who were left after the machine war ravaged their homeworld. They'd given up hope. And of course, it's Justinian who pushes them. He sacrifices himself to forge the way forward. I get it, he's the one with the most history with dragonkind. He's also the only scion who doesn't take 3 paragraphs to explain anything. And that is gone now, and my peace of mind with it. Which is a bit ironic since Urianger is my next favorite character, even though he's the opposite of Justinian in almost every way. Don't ask me to explain, the machinations of my mind are a mystery even to myself. I am not in charge here. Speaking of, he and Y'shtola were next on the chopping block. With the Ia, fascinating character designs, I did enjoy them. They reveal in their scientific prowess to have uncovered the inevitable heat death of the universe and fell to despair. Some even chose to kill themselves out of horror. It's a bit overdramatic, you guys had billions of years left to figure out a solution, but this was enough to do you in. An entire civilization self-destructed over the laws of thermodynamics. Lovely. It's Tola who pushes back against their desperation, that she would never absolve herself of knowledge, no matter what terrifying revelations it may yield. Her search for the truth is absolute, and like Justinian, she's enveloped by Dynamis. Urianger joins her because we can't have anybody left when this is done. That's not nearly dramatic enough. And with that, the only waifu material on the team is gone. So I was going to cover the others and their specific situations, Grahas, the twins, but for one, that would get boring. I complain about the game doing the same thing multiple times, I don't want to be a hypocrite. More importantly, Y'shtola's scene pretty much ruined any investment we may have had in our progress. She says it herself here.
Asm's magic. So long as our souls remain, you can use it to summon us back.
Okay, first they tell us how to overcome the nature of this place to proceed further towards the center. Now, after watching our comrades die one after the other in the desperate hope to save their world, the very universe, these writers chose to botch the emotional stakes they themselves established with the narrative, and tell us precisely
round and round we go.
What we need to do to bring everybody back. Why do we even care what happens next? You just told us what's going to happen at the end. I understand very well that the journey is often more important than the destination. That doesn't mean you spoil the damn finale like this. What the fuck were they thinking? Why couldn't this simply have waited until we were near the end? We remember Hydaelyn's words and reached that conclusion ourselves that Asm's magic could reconstitute the whole group. I know Tola tells us not to use it, least we undo all the progress we made here. I'm sure I was not the only one staring at my screen thinking, why don't we just do it when we reach the center? The center is good, let's do that. And sure enough, what happens? We use the summoning magic and bring everybody back exactly when and where I figured we would. Because again, these tards straight up told us what was going to happen. For no reason. Now, they did try to cover their asses with Emet-Selch and Hydaelyn's temporary revival, when they appear inevitably summoning a field of Elpis flowers, shining a brilliant white, showing that hope and resolve had infiltrated this realm of despair. Only here and now is Ultima Thule stable, allowing us to revive our friends without risk. Alright, there you go, problem solved.
I'm gonna go ahead and call bullshit on that.
So, drawing upon the hopes of our comrades is what made all this possible. After watching one after another die, slow and meticulously, you guys up and spawn and take a shortcut through all that. And that is all it takes to undo all the sacrifice and emotion we've been spamming this entire walkthrough. Why didn't we use this when we first arrived? It's just, we had everything we needed. We had the crystal, the Cycle Albino's added magic, Vana.
And you fucking whore!
Ooh, language!
Did this revelation not occur to us until after everybody was dead? Why? The idiot emo Deathbird told us exactly what was needed to counteract their influence. A crystal that can summon allies and perform untold miracles, according to Hydaelyn, might be a tool you consider using before your friends went the path of the Great Lemming and yeeted themselves off of a cliff. Nor did we acquire any life lessons in this zone pivotal to our development. The game was adamant to remind us how awesome we were time and time again. We had 100% of what was needed, and didn't use it until the most thematical moment possible, precisely because it was the most thematical moment possible, and that is all. This is pure spectacle, folks. It's a show, an act to elicit a specific reaction from you and I. Appropriate, I admit, given the nature of Dynamis is dictated by emotion. Unfortunately for Square Enix, the script is not. Everything we did here had no consequence. The Scions and their sacrifices had zero repercussions. They died preaching their way to the grave, then we brought them back 100% health like a healer LB3. All of their declarations, shallow, and meant nothing for them to stand on principle and remain steadfast in the face of their doom. For this was not their doom, and the Scions had been through hell and back before. They had learned, adapted, persevered. Whatever they proclaimed here at the edge of the universe was nothing more than repeating shit we already knew about them. Hydaelyn tells them exactly that when we confront her in the Ethereal Sea. There's nothing unique about their characterizations in Ultima Thule. Fuck me, I hated this Hydaelyn scene so much. Soon, stay tuned people. The crazy one will get the treatment, I promise. Watching our allies die wasn't a tragedy. It was an inconvenient setback. A setback we were capable of avoiding the entire time with a combination of Azim and Hydaelyn's magic. Everything we did here was unnecessary, because that is how it was written. By professionals. Malcolm in the Middle had it right, life is unfair. I also have my skepticism over just how potent Azim's sorcery is. Calling specters to aid us in battle within Atheris or potentially from the shards, I can buy into that. With some hesitation. We're at the end of the universe here. I don't need to tell you how unfathomably vast space is. Yet not only can we summon souls from Atheris to us, we summon the souls of the dead from the lifestream to us. Yes, I know it's enhanced by the Cycle Albino. It's still an incredible feat with equally incredible implications. Who or what else might we summon with this little crystal? What is the limit of its abilities, if any? How much power can you realistically cram into a palm-sized device like this? There is a hell load of crazy at work. Frankly, I'm surprised we haven't summoned Cthulhu or some other Eldritch abomination by now. I wonder if that's what Calyx has going on. I am being incredibly crude. I know, and I hate that. Getting to see Emet-Selch and Hydaelyn again was delightful. There was catharsis in getting a proper farewell from these two. It's just a shame there was so much bullshit to trudge through to make this happen. And even still, the writers, probably by accident, shat on Hades in this scene. And I'm not happy about that. When he first appears, he comments on the hilarity of asking us to remember, only to realize what he had forgotten. As if everything that happened in Ktisis was a prank. A prank Vana took part in when she withheld the truth from him. Sure, he throws a tidbit of shade at her, but not nearly enough. This woman's inaction single-handedly assured the doom of their society, and unlike the invariable souls at Ultima Thule, there's no second chance for Amarant. They're gone, because of Hermes and Vana. There's no amount of fury too great to exemplify how Hades ought to feel right now. A fact that's glossed over because calling out Vana at all in this game is punishable by lengthy exposition. Honestly, I may have looked past this if more recent events in 14 haven't been equally abysmal. I was initially excited when Hades dropped a list of destinations to explore, that he had been inspired by Azim in some way even after all these centuries. Exploring, experiencing, just as his old friend once did. He'd have knowledge of civilizations that had been extinct for thousands of years. There was so much potential. And they gave us Dawntrail. They couldn't let us have anything, could they? So even Hades' parting gift to us was cheapened after the fact. The lack of writing quality has done him so dirty, and to date, MSelk is still one of the best things to happen to this series. The lack of respect for your own product does not inspire confidence, Square. And before people get any ideas, don't think I've forgotten the point of this video. This game shat on itself to the extreme as well.
Good teamwork, you fucking noob!
Back to the Scion's remarkable revival. Again, no consequences, no repercussions. By all accounts, we walked away from here virtually without a scratch. Golly, they really made us feel the melancholy, didn't they? What was the point of Endwalker again? What was the theme, the idea? Perseverance in the face of despair, clinging to hope, never giving up. Now, how did Endwalker express these themes? By giving us a deus ex machina, allowing all our tragedy and hardship to be erased in a single instant. We didn't lose anybody. Nobody important at least. We prevailed against the odds and walked away in one piece. Meanwhile, everything around us suffered. The entities left in Ultima Thule endured agony for centuries. The Amortines went extinct. People around us gave into the horrors and devolved into monsters. Nobody important though. Couldn't have that. Ultima Thule was meant to be the ultimate expression of melancholia, and I didn't feel anything because the writing actively prevented it. By the way, real hypocritical of the story pestering the ancients as being incapable of hardship. Yet they were the ones who had to sacrifice everything just to survive, while we suffered zero repercussions facing the same horrors as they did. Imagine if they also had super convenient summoning magic to bring back all their loved ones after the final days were halted. Yeah, I know their ether was used in Zodiark's creation, and to form the barrier blocking the Song of Oblivion. My point stands, there was no convenient cop-out for Amaroth following the apocalypse. Us, on the other hand, it was one convenience after another, yet we're the ones who triumph over despair? Piss off with that. I'll be honest, going into Endwalker, I thought somebody was going to die. Permanently. It was a finale expansion, where the stakes, story, and spectacle ought to be peak. With Estinian joining the group last second, I was half convinced it was going to be him, only for Thancred to be the first to go. Off-screen, which was a red flag. You wouldn't kill off a longtime cast member that unceremoniously. I mean, in a Final Fantasy game? Killing off a main character? That's absurd. They would never do that. It certainly wouldn't go down in history as one of the most tragic deaths in all of gaming. That's preposterous. Why do I feel like curling up in a ball and crying all day? And of course, the game had to immediately provide an explanation for Thancred, which we have already bitched about, and everything else thereafter. But it wasn't just Ultima Thule we have this problem with. All of Endwalker was designed to be as safe and complacent as possible. Don't believe me? Look at Zodiark. Defeating him was a stupid-ass decision. We have an entire bleeding video on the subject. Losing to him would have inspired the fear and desperation this game preached about. Instead, it put us onto a pedestal the writers have thus far failed to validate or surpass since 6.0 dropped. This was a marvelous chance to instill despair into us. And they botched it. Us unwittingly letting the apocalypse reignite could have salvaged this. We still failed to save a great many people despite our strength. And then the developers threw us into a multi-hour comedy event with the Loperites, which is all they really were, comic relief. That completely clashed with the tone we were left with following Zodiark's destruction. The only despair I felt in Bestway's burrow was a horrid realization that these morons were responsible for shepherding humanity to a new home. I mean, what could go wrong? We have an entire video on that too. A lot could go wrong. Sweet mother of holy hell. Then after the final days begin, Thavnair is assaulted, the people fall to madness and devolve into beasts. This scene started off horrifying, let's not lie. Then they set up the dumbest fail imaginable with the satrap getting devoured, 5 feet away from us. The indomitable warrior who defeated Zodiark couldn't stop a monster within gap closer distance, or ranged weapon distance, we have options. This wasn't a tragedy, it was stupid. No despair felt, only embarrassment. Then we have Hydaelyn,
Fucking whore!
who lied about her nature, set up the potential to be a villain herself. Instead, she was always on our side, and manipulated events for 12,000 years to ensure we specifically, would exist in the present. Because time travel. Except in the previous time travel example where changing history was a good thing, get fucked. She could have been as great a threat as Zodiark or even the Endsinger. Instead, she was always our benevolent benefactor. There was never any threat or danger posed by her. No hardship, no despair. Endwalker is not a story about resolve and strength against adversity. In fact, it's the opposite. The story went out of its way to avoid despair, melancholia, hardship, heartache, and the myriad other emotions that Final Fantasy in the past has excelled at teasing out of us. And what tragedy that is committed is often excused or downplayed, like the annihilation of Amarant. They were abandoned, deemed unfit to survive. Even Hades claims their own methods would never have gotten them as far as ours did, which is utter nonsense. Elpis showcased plenty of resilience and ingenuity, yet when it was time for us to leave, it was with uplifting music and a smile on our face, coldly dismissing the absolute horrors that are about to fall upon these people, who again, we abandoned. And we feel so terrible about it. There isn't a single moment where we reflect on this decision. We don't get to question Vana. Nothing. It's just how it is. Now, toddle off and watch millions of innocents die. Like a hero.
You're going to destroy this building and somehow bring about doom for their entire race. No. That doesn't sound like me. I like people.
But that's it. That's Ultima Thule in a nutshell. What a freaking... Wait. Oh shit, I forgot something.
At the end of everything, I find you, my friend. I sought something in you once, as you did in me.
Oh yes, our murder sexual best friend. Bringing the cavalry by letting us ride on his back. You know what, weirder things have happened. Zenos' last minute entrance was mighty stylish, and our fight afterwards was pretty kick-ass.
A test of your reflexes!
That phrase ought to live on as a meme. Honestly, besides its genocidal levels of nihilism, the Endsinger was an okay boss fight. No real complaints. But letting our final bout be with Zenos, they'd been blue-balling us the entire game for this moment. It would be infinitely worse if they did leave this part out. So how did he get to Ultima Thule? We needed the Ragnarok for that, and all kinds of special materials for the ether burners to make this trip. It was a big deal, taking the only ship on the planet, making evacuation impossible. All Zenos did was consume the remnants of the Mother Crystal. Which, why were there remnants? Did old Charlian cheap out on us, hoping to make a profit in the event we did save the universe? I mean, look at the twins' family home. You know their parents are into some kind of embezzlement scheme. Don't pretend otherwise. So the convenience that a chunk of ether was readily available for Zenos to regain his Shinryu form is extraordinary enough. Actually, getting to Ultima Thule, did the Ragnarok create a wormhole or something? Why did we need the ship if anybody could have just followed? Why not use that particular component and we use alternate means of reaching Ultima Thule, leaving the ship behind to evacuate people? That way, should the worst come to pass, we have some kind of contingency plan, rather than just standing around like a bunch of idiots, or better yet, use the Ether Front, which was their original plan for the Ragnarok. It worked for Zenos, right? And the Loperids can use creation magics, so why not be proactive with all these spare energy reserves? Why did we treat this mission like an all-or-nothing scenario when there were several options available? Because, like everything else in Ultima Thule, this scene with Zenos wasn't meant to be deep. It was spectacle, something shiny to gawk at. His very presence here, although very cool to witness, strikes down any of the drama us taking the Ragnarok was meant to create. Humanity can either commit to escaping or take the fight to the enemy, knowing annihilation awaits them should they fail. And again, Loperids, creation magic. Magic up another spaceship, you useless, furry little a-holes. Those stakes no longer exist because of this moment. I swear, dude, Endwalker scripted absolutely everything it could to sabotage its own narrative. It's almost as nonsensical as Dawntrail. Also, why the hell did the Charlians allow him to follow after us in the first place? By this point, Zenos is an enemy of the world. His home country hates its guts. This guy was willing to set the world on fire to coax us into a fight. Then he appears and promises to help us should they agree to send him to Ultima Thule? I'm starting to think the water supply in Old Charlian may be dosed with high levels of lead deposits. The Nerd Brigade should investigate immediately. There's a lot of dumbass decisions being made. I think it was Cryo who mentions they agreed to Zenos' participation, given he helped us out. Cryo? This guy spent 3 games wanting to kill us. This guy who tore Garlemald apart. Released Zodiark, kicking the apocalypse into gear. This bizarre love child between Hannibal Lecter and Sephiroth. You used that one already. It merited second C's. Nothing this man could say or do would ever be enough to convince anybody of a sound and reasonable mind that he wouldn't immediately kill us, saw off our body parts and remake them into a meat puppet to reenact a dark comedy skit you know this sicko has been working on off-screen. But they did anyways. I'm convinced they sent Zenos because he threatened to kill everybody if they didn't do what he wanted. And thus, Charlian jeopardized the safety of the star for stupid-ass reasons. The one thing this nation is supposed to be good for, being intelligent, was denied because of the hot damn script. Just like it was for the Scions. And one final thing.
Come on!
Hey, it's not my fault. To clarify, I know Zenos has his fans, and despite how my rhetoric makes it sound, I don't hate Zenos. He is very cool, great character design. I liked us having an opponent who could challenge us. No complex backstory or convoluted plot required. He is absurdly eloquent for a mass murderer. Poetic, that's what he is. My criticisms come from the fact that Square brought this man back, cock-teased us with his presence through post-Stormblood, Shadowbringers, and Endwalker, just to conclude his arc in a rushed and clumsy manner as this. Case in point, Zenos' little revelation. Am I the only person who didn't buy into his character shift? The last we saw him was in Garlemald. He pisses off after Alice yells at him, and of all times, now he seems disturbed by what's being said to him. This leads him to Alamigo, reminiscing over our fight, where his perspective switches for the first time. He emphasizes, in his own way, sees things from our perspective, finally connecting with another human being. Zenos, the world's most iconic L'Oreal model.
Good to see you, Cloud.
Okay, second best. Rush to Charlian to confront us, leading to our final clash. Again, great fight, no complaints. All of this was facilitated by Alice yelling at him. Ignoring the fact half her personality is yelling at people about one thing or another, I find it unconvincing that this was all it took for Zenos to have a character moment. It's fine that he never changed that much, he didn't have to, not all villains need or deserve redemption arcs. But I suppose when it comes to Endwalker's sloppy script, it could have been much worse. I'd rather have it ended with our murder bestie than the emo deathbird, at least. Just as Endwalker was a sloppy finale to 10 years of development, Ultima Thule was a rotten cherry atop this fustercluck. Unnecessary emotional moments, fake stakes that have no reason to exist, stupid decisions that only exist to push the plot forward, an evil Hot Topic shopper for the final boss. Don't get me started on how it was Hydaelyn's machinations that led to this hot garbage. Nah, really, her time is coming. Honestly, this final zone encapsulates many of the problems I had with Endwalker. Seeing how Dawntrail's reception has been, 14's narrative has been on a slippery ass slope ever since. I'll just add it to the ever-growing list of resentment. A fitting send-off for Ultima Thule, where themes go to die. Thanks for watching. Leave your thoughts down below, drop a like, subscribe if you're new. The channel is slowly growing. I'm hoping to pass the 3,000 subscriber mark soon. As mentioned, I'm putting more priority on Endwalker, so we can finally wrap up that chapter of the channel's content. Pandemonium is next on the agenda, then back to Hydaelyn for our own finale. It will be vicious, I assure you. And more Devil May Cry content is on the way as well. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Till then.